Hello everyone, it's Katie here from Encoded Frequencies. If you're new, welcome to my channel. And if you are old school, what's up? Today we are going to be talking about what I've seen in my clients in relation to the top 10 reasons people have doubt about their psychic gifts. I think this topic is really important and will be spoken about, and there's a whole activation in the 3-part series of the LightWorkers activation coming up soon in February, which you're all welcome to join live, is when we go to acclimatize to our multidimensional psychic gifts, seeing, feeling, understanding, running sessions, there are for me anyway, there have been 20 different challenges and hurdles once I did open up my gifts, of working through imposter syndrome, working through doubt, doubting the messages that I get, doubting the strength of my power, which seems crazy now because the other day I had to ask to turn the power down. I was like, I used to be so worried that I wasn't actually doing anything. I'd run Reiki sessions and I'd stand there and I'd open my eyes being like, this is doing anything. And then over time I've realized kind of not all of them, I'm still on my path, but different blocks that I've come up against for myself and other people. And I wanted to make a video to make you feel seen and heard, and also to help you identify what your blocks are and take them head on. As an Aries, I just look at something and I'm like, okay, why is it this way? What part do I have to play in this? How can I evolve and grow and give myself compassion, and how can I take actual steps to get help to move through this thing, right? So if you're sitting there and you've stagnated in your gifts, or you're using them with other people and you're charging money and you feel like, I don't fully know what I'm doing, then stay tuned, join me for the Lightworkers, and let's go through. There's a PDF download in the section below, and it's just a way for you to fill it out, and it's completely free for you to figure out where your blocks are and what's happening. So let's get into it. So the very first, and none of these are ordered at all, but one of the reasons that you might be doubting your gifts is the obvious past life trauma and just persecution. I feel like so many Lightworkers carry a deep subconscious memory of persecution, being shamed, being exiled, being called out, being called a liar for using their gifts, getting too close to God and being a messenger, and religious ideation being thrown at you that who are you to think that you can channel God? And this doesn't even need to be past life, just the persecution of being in a religious organization. And I'm not saying every religious organization is. There's beautiful people in every sect of society, and there's judgmental people in every sect. So scan your body right now. Do you feel that any of your gifts, like your seeing or your knowing or your clairvoyance, are being hindered right now from past life persecution? Even I feel it, in my heart. Tune into your body. Where do you sense the persecution? What does it feel like? And you don't need to go there immediately, but if there is a tinge in your body, that's a pretty surefire way to understand that the complex of sister wounding, maybe someone in a past life was jealous of your gifts, jealous of your power, and took you down, right? I see so many people in their past life, when I read their quantum field, being stabbed or being brutally murdered. So whilst this reality is always a play, there are lessons and aspects that you can take from these traumas. It's always about soul growth. So when you learn to read your multidimensional field, you can ask yourself, okay, if I was persecuted and I have past life trauma around speaking, around sharing my power, around seeing, what was the lesson from that lifetime that I'm ready now to own and to integrate? Standing up for myself. Speaking even if I feel vulnerable and scared. This is the lifetime where your persecution isn't going to lead to your death. Maybe in some countries I'm unaware of, and that's a potential, but I feel like most people listening to this channel, this is the life 2025. You get to own your power, and someone might complain about it. Someone might say something mean. At the end of the day, when you're in your power, you can have compassion and recognize, okay, you're affected by this because you haven't found that for yourself yet. So I wish you well on your path. Has nothing to do with me, right? So past life persecution. Number 2, societal conditioning and skepticism. Okay, so we have grown up in a society that values logic and materialism over intuition. That's just a fact. Think about all of our movies. Think about the way that spiritual people or psychic people have been projected. The woo-woo culture, right? And that's shaming. That's incredibly shaming, because at the end of the day, you're passively picking up on impulses as an empath that you're sending out to be like, am I safe with this person? Am I safe to be myself with this person? Am I safe to be myself with this series of people? And then you group people together. You've met one type of person, and then you see a kind of archetype of that person again. And there are deep pulses and firings within your nervous system that go blah, blah, blah. Don't be myself around this person. So you may have been your whole life subtly shutting down your psychic gifts because your uncle or your family or your mom or your sisters or your school shamed it subtly or verbally, right? So it takes a really strong kid to stand up and say, no, I do see that fairy. No, I do see that angel. No, I can read the future. No, I do speak to our past over grandpa. And kids aren't validated in our society, or have not been as validated if you think about the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Maybe you were told to be quiet, don't be seen, right? So let's go through it. Tune into your energy system right now. Were you, communicate to your cells, your energy system, were you shut down, or have you been shut down in your gifts because of societal conditioning? Were you bullied at school, or did you feel the energetic impulse to restrict and shut down vital aspects of yourself, gifts, intuition for safety? Maybe you feel it in your heart. If the answer is yes, what is the lesson that you can learn, and how do you need to respond to that part of you? Acceptance, compassion. And we can go over this in the course. Number 3, fear of being wrong or making a mistake. This happens at all spectrums of using your gifts, right? At the beginning, it's like you don't want to get something wrong because, one, it proves to the teacher, whoever you're learning from, that you didn't understand. Think about the schooling system when you have been shamed for getting things wrong. Like, making a mistake is actually the pathway to success, right? But we have it ingrained in our mind that making a mistake is bad, and therefore you're already on the back foot because of the skepticism of society. You want to live out of proof consciousness. You want to prove, okay, I'm saying that I can do this thing, so I better get it 100% right, so I can prove to you that my worth is valid, that my gifts are valid, or I can prove to myself, right? So I think making a mistake is inevitable. It's encouraged. Take a load off and don't put so much pressure on yourself to see or to feel or to know. Be like, this next channeling that I do, maybe I'm going to get 30% of it right. Or maybe I'm going to say one sentence to this person that I'm working on, and that's going to trigger their mind, and they're going to think about that for the next week. And it's going to slowly embed in their unconscious, where they make different behaviors or respond to situations rather than react. So I remember when I started learning Reiki, and my teacher, she wanted me to do, it was about reading. So we had to do the energy on the body, and I was like, okay, run the light, do the thing. And then we started to send the energy to someone else. And she said, now get messages from their higher self. And I remember just like breaking out in a cold sweat, being like, I'm making this up. I don't think I'm going to get it right. I have no way to validate or prove the information that's coming. And if I did tell this person, what if they're like, that's not true? And then they look at me and then I have nothing to say, right? So I didn't even speak in my sessions for about the first 2 years of seeing clients. I think I made some sound and I made some comments about what I was feeling and sensing, but I just ran the energy through their body, said some things, and then hoped that they didn't ask for their money back. Because I was so anxious of being wrong. So I think, tune into your body right now. Do you have a fear of being wrong, of making a mistake? If yes, what does the subcategory of thought say in your mind? What does that mean then about you? It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're not psychic. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be charging. All those things are incongruent. They are not representative of you and your power. So if you can, put them to the side and accept right now that no channeler ever gets anything right. I'm sure I only channel I don't know what percentage of information I get right. It resonates with people, but of course there's going to be things that do not resonate, And also, if you do have a fear of making a mistake or getting something wrong, maybe a practical lesson is getting 10 people that you're really close to, and before you go in, practice what it feels like to get in the deepest channeled state that you possibly can. The game really shifted for me in my clients when I learned through meditation and making sound healing tracks how to get into the most deeply meditative, centered, higher consciousness state. Because if you're trying to read energy from the human mind that's questioning whether you're getting it right, you're probably not in the channeled state. Or part of your mind is sitting in the human wavelength, frequency, brainwave state, and then an aspect of you is slightly tuning in. All the information that you want to get is in the higher octaves. So learning how to turn down the human mind and to shift brainwave states and to access the higher mind, the higher self and their higher selves, it takes time and it takes effort. But once you get there, now in my sessions, I can just come in, be like, okay, clear my field, and then boom, I'm there, right? So that took 8 years of practice to do. So are you giving yourself enough slack and enough time to get into the channeled state? Because from the channeled state, you're going to be saying things and be like, oh, I didn't even know where that came from, right? So that's a surefire way to know that you can trust the information when you feel like you're in a deeper state of consciousness. Number 4 would be a reason that you might doubt your gifts is because you have unprocessed shadow work, right? So when you go to run energy and channel energy, and this is a big reason why in the training I suggest people come for a session and that they use all the exercises on themselves first. The clarity of your channel and seeing, I don't think it's directly proportional. We're always going to have more work to do, to look at, to integrate, to understand, to compassionately heal and nurture and grow, right? But I think your clarity does depend on your inner alignment, and that can be a day-to-day thing. Am I a clear channel today to channel light language or see, or am I just a bit pissed off today and the energies are too much? Give yourself a break. Or is it deeper than that? Are there unresolved emotional wounds? Is there inner child wounding? Is there limiting beliefs or distortions in your frequency? If you think about a clear conduit channel moving through your whole energy system and your toroidal field, and the clarity of your field dictates the clarity of your vision and your channeling, tune into your energy body right now. Are your unresolved traumas or shadowistic elements unconsciously bypassing or creating resistance in the clarity of your gifts? Yes, no. And if it's yes, can you love yourself for that anyway? And compassionately say, oh, I've just got a bit more to integrate. And let's go deeper. What are the wounds? Where do you feel the wounds in your system right now? Not worthy, not good enough on the heart. Fear. Right? These are the ways you can subtly tune into your unprocessed shadowistic elements, which we all have, and don't do it for the sake of I've got to get my gifts online. Do it because you love yourself, obviously, and give yourself some slack, because there's a lot to move through. Okay, another one is, I would say another reason that you might be doubting your gifts is you're comparing yourself to others. This is human nature, of course. We grow through comparison. We grow through watching someone else and thinking, oh wow, I want to do that too. But is your comparison triggering imposter syndrome? So I feel many people think that their gifts aren't good enough or strong enough, or energy work is very subtle. So are you judging the channel in which you receive information right now because you're comparing yourself to another person? Comparison consciousness is something that you can let go of. And if you find the root of why you feel that you need to compare yourself, close your eyes. Do you feel that you are triggering an imposter syndrome through comparison to other people? Yes or no? If yes, where did you learn to compare yourself, and what are you deducing about you in relation to them? Unworthy, not good enough. I'll never get there. What do those emotions and thoughts make you feel? Downtrodden, heavy, shut down, repressed, closed off. Where does it live in your body? Your heart, your back? Does it tie into other wounding and trauma? Did your parents make you feel like you weren't good enough? Have you always felt not good enough? Can you see yourself clearly enough to even make this comparison and judgment? Right? Getting a bit heavy. But these are the types of things that you can follow and take power and be like, why do I need to compare myself to another person? Can you flip the script and visualize yourself, they show me a snowflake, as just like a very purified individual being that has no need to compare, because there's no need for two people to ever be the same. There's no need for ever two gifts. The universe, all of humanity, one song. We are all playing a different note, a different frequency, a different texture, a different timbre within the song of life. Your note doesn't need to be the same as someone else's note. And if you are playing someone else's note, that means there's actually a lack within the orchestra. Your note isn't being played. And that's going to detune the whole of society, right? So it's actually your responsibility to be yourself. And you might be at stage 4 on the 10-stage journey of self, but tomorrow you might be at stage 5. You might rapidly evolve and be at stage 9 in 2 weeks' time. You don't know, right? So the elongation of your gifts through doubt, through comparison, you have power to let go of that by finding its core expression. If you want help, join the LightWorkers and we can support clearing that energy. Okay. So another one is lack of immediate validation. Now, this is a huge thing. I feel like you really must be validated for what you're doing, for the smallest act. If you don't internally come with self-validation, like I weirdly validate myself in some realms inherently, and then I judge myself too as well. So like, are you someone that immediately validates yourself when you do something? Are you someone who's like, yes, I did it, let's party, let's have a celebration? Or are you like shaming yourself when you don't get something right? Because energy work is so subtle. Like you may doubt yourself when you don't get instant confirmation. If you're in a channel and the person isn't saying anything back to you and you're just channeling all this information and your mind starts to kick in of like, is this even right? Am I just on a tangent and they think that I'm stupid? Learn to require or set yourself up to have positive validation experiences. That's why in the multidimensional energy training, there's like a class of 15 people and they get to practice the experience that they just learned and received on the other person for half an hour where the other person receives. So set up in your daily life. I would like to practice a heart opening expansion through light codes, through my voice. Let the person know that you would like validation. Maybe it's a pop, a positive, an opportunity for growth, and a positive. What did you do well? What could you improve? And what did you do well? Because you need to be validated. You need someone to be like your cheerleader, to be like, yes, you did it. And I love validating my students. I love validating people because ain't nobody else out there. There's no regulatory body of psychics that are like, there's no university teaching this stuff, you know, like you would go to be a doctor and you have all of these protocols and procedures. We don't have that. But in a way, you're doing psychic surgery. In a way, you're operating on people's energy field. You need validation. So set yourself up in a way where you learn to validate yourself, where you learn to celebrate the small wins. Oh, did you just see something for the first time? Did you see an orb? Oh, wow, heck yeah, maybe my third eye is opening, right? Give yourself 10 people that you know that you can practice on one thing and be validated. Bask in someone saying that you're amazing and take that as a little coin in your pocket and go, well, look what I can do. and do something more the next time, or just keep doing that 10 times until you internally know, oh, I can channel, I can see. Okay, number 8, fear of responsibility. Damn, that's a big one. Okay, so maybe you're doubting your gifts because what you're working with is so deeply complex. At the end of the day, you are, when you're working someone's multidimensional energy field, or being a psychic, or using light language, or channeling information, there is actually a very big responsibility that you have to work with other people. And I think that the fear of the responsibility to get something wrong, or like for me, let's just talk about me. I started to see or feel or tune into very complex people and very, very heavy traumas. Like I started running energy, working on clients when I was 24, I think. And for some reason, I got people who tried to jump off a bridge and kill themselves. I got people who have complex schizophrenia and mental health disorders. I got people who self-harm. I got people who sexually abused. I just found that spirit gave me people with very complex traumas. And at the beginning, I found it very overwhelming because I was like, one, I'm not a trained clinical psychologist, psychiatrist. I'm not any of those things. And two, they trust me so much. And I'm kind of just beginning. Like at that time, I really was, obviously my soul is advanced in doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it at this level. But at that time, I wasn't aware of that. So there is, if you feel doubt because there is a fear of responsibility, honor and acknowledge the part of you that feels that weight of responsibility, because that is important. You are working in people's fields. Am I being ethical? Am I channeling from my highest source? Am I referring this person on to someone else who may be a complementary therapist to support and assist their needs for what they are going through? Am I cleansing my energy field after and not taking on too much responsibility? Because put your hand up if you do this. I did this. After someone left for about half an hour, I'd be like, I wonder how they're going. I hope they're going well. I hope I did a good job. I hope. And I was just like plugging into them because I just took on too much responsibility. What happens inside the channel once you set the container and use your gifts is an instant connection, right? You're just channeling, you're sharing. After it's closed down, that's not your responsibility. It's nothing for you to think or tune into anymore unless that's your friend and you love them. And trust that you did the exact thing and the highest good for them. Because at the end of the day, it's not just you, it's their guides, it's their higher self. There is so much unseen support as you work with your multidimensional gifts. And I really love to help you recognize that you might be fearing responsibility for what you're going to take on for that person. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, hey, this is the 5th time I've ever done this. Please understand and bear with me as I grow. And if they're not open to that, you're allowed to say, maybe we shouldn't work together. And you're allowed to say if you should run a session or use your gifts for someone, or if you don't think it would be good. That's okay too. You're allowed to have boundaries. I never ended up like saying no to any of the clients. I just love a challenge. So I think I was like, bring it on. And I trusted that what was coming through was helping the people. I saw instant results for people. I saw them come back, change their life. Like the profound shifts that I've witnessed in clients over the years is like gobsmackering, staggering. That's not a word, but like people finally quitting a job, finally really leaving a toxic relationship, coming off medication, feeling empowered, learning their gifts, changing their finances, healing their body. Like some lady came in with a broken finger, and after one session she went back and got a scan, and they said if it doesn't heal we're gonna have to do surgery. And we did like a 45-minute session, and then she called me being like, the doctor asked what I did because I did another scan and now it's not broken. So it's like, trust that multidimensional energy and channeling is very, very, very powerful when you run that level of energy. Okay, and then the last one, energetic overwhelm and sensory overload. Oh, the second last one. This one is big. I feel like you might be doubting your gifts because you're not grounding or earthing the energy. So there are many lightworkers out there, and you might be one of them, who have had a rapid spiritual awakening, meaning that, and this was me, the top centers just blew like a fuse. I got it was actually like way too much for me, and that was pretty traumatic, my spiritual awakening, to be very honest. When I think about how I'm helping people through their spiritual awakening now, I look back being like, fuck, I had it rough. And everyone has it rough. Like, it is just an uncomfortable period. Dark night of the soul, intense dreams, confusion, right? Too many articles to read on the internet that don't really relate to you, but somehow relate to you, so you think that they should relate to you, and it just muddies up the water of what you're actually personally going through. So for me, the energetic overwhelm was like seeing beings in the tree, seeing spirits inside other people's body. The world became hazy, and I couldn't determine like what was physical reality and what was higher realms. My dreams were too much. They felt prophetic, but then it shouldn't have felt like that. I was basically just blown out on the top, and because of my trauma of childhood and my eating disorder and like all of my crap of not wanting to be on the planet for a very long time, I didn't have any stability in my base. We moved around heaps when I was a child. My mum died. I didn't feel safe in my family home. My base was just like non-existent, just like shut down, right? I didn't nurture my physicality. I felt disconnected from the earth. So it was like, I'm picturing like those dudes that train at the gym and they're really top heavy and then their legs are so skinny. That's how I felt. So I think that energetic overload is something to talk about. Are you really blown out, or are you integrated and synthesized through your sacral, through your roots, through the earth-star connection? Because grounding your psychic abilities and grounding the flow of energy through your body, one, helps you feel more consistent to be able to run the energy, and two, the pathways that are recalibrating within the synapses, within your brainwave states, within the literal consciousness that flows and animates the physicality of your body, is changing at such a rapid degree. Like I always say that I felt like when I had my spiritual awakening, I was operating at 2.0, and then they took a SD card and was like, here's 8.0. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And I knew things I shouldn't know, and I read people's minds, and it was just like way too much all at once. And I probably just planned it that way. I feel like so much of my stuff is like, have a crazy time so you can tell other people that it's not so bad and help people. But yeah, if you feel an energetic sense of overwhelm, that's going to lead to you not trusting your gifts, because maybe too much information is coming at once, or things aren't like making sense. Because there's a whole discussion about like when you download information and then when you have to decipher the information. So like there's a whole chunk of time where you're downloading information and you're like, I have absolutely no idea what a white rabbit jumping over a hill means for this person's solar plexus, right? Like there's these times where you have to be like, what is spirit meaning by that? And that can take up brain power, and that can make you doubt. So right now, tune into your system. Do you feel that you are experiencing energetic overwhelm, too many activations, too much energy, not enough sense being made out of what you're experiencing? Maybe you need to take action and learn how to ground this energy, learn how to run it comprehensively, and maybe even slow it down. Maybe you need to do some training about your gifts. And this would be the last thing about doubt that I found really interesting. I had a client the other day, and he said, it was amazing. All the people are amazing. And they said they are really connected to the higher octaves, and they did school, and it's like they start the session and energy comes through, and light language comes through, and mudras come through, and they do a session, they don't speak, and it's doing something, and their body is shaking, and they know to guide it here, but at the end, they have no idea what they just did. They don't know if they recalibrated the DNA, they don't know if they did this, or they know that they did something, but they don't know how they did it. So maybe you're doubting your gifts because you're doing things, and you have no idea what you're doing, right? So I suggest to that person, whilst you are advanced in your energy from a higher perspective, maybe you need to do some more basic training and go back to basics so your human can download the manual of what it is that you're doing, right? So it really helped for me to learn, where do I channel energy from? Okay, how does the energy move through the feminine and masculine? How do I balance those channels. Okay, how do I balance the ancestral line of the chakra, of the base chakra? Okay, how do I upgrade the auric field lining? Okay, how do I clear subconscious programs? Oh, okay, that's how you do it. Okay, how do I rewrite a timeline, right? So there is a whole manual, and this is exactly what I teach in the multidimensional energy training, like a manual of going from here to here. Everything that if you do all those steps, you will know exactly what you're doing, and you'll run an amazing session. And then you take the book and you throw it away and you just do whatever comes in the session. But if that helped you to trust yourself and feel empowered, then that's worth your weight in gold. To be able to feel empowered about what it is that you do for yourself and people, you deserve that. So I hope that this helps. I hope you feel seen and validated, and I hope you feel encouraged that it doesn't matter if you doubt. Find out why, where it sits, where it belongs, and you can integrate it and you can move on and you can be empowered. So you're welcome to join Clearing Doubt. The 3-part activation is February 18th, I think we start. Clearing Doubt is the first one about your gifts. Second one is Cosmic Light Body Activation. Woohoo! And then third is a Galactic DNA activation. So you're welcome to join me live, and you're also welcome to join the Multidimensional Energy Training if you feel like you want to know what you're doing. Okay, thank you. Leave all your comments in the section below. I'm sure other people are going to benefit from hearing what your doubts are. And just keep doing you and you're going to get there. All my love.